Video. This is going to be my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, Season 1, Episode 8, Isle of Joy, which is something me and this episode have in common. I, too, love joy. The episode is probably rated something like TVMA, because there's at least one F-bomb. So will this video be, and like all other videos I've done on this show, there will be spoilers for the episode itself, as well as the MCU and adjacent leading up to it. Loved this episode, love all episodes of this show so far, most things MCU and adjacent. Let's dive right in. So, lot happens in this episode. I don't know if I'm gonna get to absolutely everything, but I'll try to at least cover the very most important. So, I quite like Heather, pointing out in some ways Matt and Muse are not that different from one another. And the whole thing with Dexter, like, holy crap. The start with the cop. See, I think the cop knows which of the three. He mentions, three categories. I'm pretty sure he knows full well Dexter is neither an android nor an alien. But this is your new home. Welcome to Gen Pop, and you just see this massive wall of just like, holy crap. Yeah, pretty clear Fisk wants him dead. I guess that's one of his less trisky moments. The real Trump would have pardoned him. But right, in case this is the first video of mine on the show that you watch, Trisk is what I say when Fisk is being Trumpy. It happens a lot. Now, let's see. Yeah, and him, he asks for Matt. And, the tension, feel the tension in the room, holy crap. And, Matt comes in, and this thing, like, because we already know, like, Matt, on some level, wants to fucking murder Bullseye, when he gets close. Like, it's one of those things, like, that can be, like, comforting and, like, we trust each other kind of thing. But it can also be, I'm gonna fuck you up. And that's very much the case here. And, yeah, very, very clever. Because like, Dex, basically, there were two options. The extremely unlikely event that Matt would actually be like, oh my god, you're right. You do deserve a defense. I'm gonna get right on that. I'm gonna get you out of Gen Pop. You really should be in hair metal instead. But, yeah, the other option, if Dex pushes his buttons enough, doesn't take a lot, understandably. Yeah, Daredevil smashes his face against, I know, technically he's not in costume, but that was a very Daredevil thing to do. Smashes Dex's face and then says, oh, he did that himself. Guess someone hasn't watched Prison Break. Didn't go so well for the... Anyway. But and he's sitting there and we hear the crack. They're really not holding back. Like, we are seeing a much more R-rated MCU. Not all of the time, but for stuff like this and Deadpool and Wolverine, but yeah. We hear the crack and the guard comes like... I find it's best not to get on his level, and then he spits, just and like a tooth, and the bit where he's smiling with the tooth in there, like, fuck, that was creepy. And tooth in the eye, that's gonna, he's not gonna be able to hold Dex, and and just throws the scissors. And I love that was shot very much like the Netflix show would have been. There's a lot of other MCU stuff where we would have seen the scissors flying through the air, maybe even hit. Now, yeah, and there at the end, yeah, right, and he gets on the bus. Rough day, huh? Yeah, yeah. And he grabs the fork and off screen stabs the sniper, and then gets out the rifle, and he's like, holy crap. And yeah, he would have killed Fisk if not for Matt. And Matt, Matt went and did exactly what Dex did tell him to do, just not as yeah. Dex, careful what you wish for, because he was like, good people defend their worst enemy, right? That was a great little moment. Yeah. Good use of color. The red for Daredevil, white for Kingpin, and this episode also blue for Bullseye. I think that does cover Dex, so let's swerve and talk BB. Love that we get the answer to, yeah, she is well aware that Kingpin killed, Ben. And, it's one of those things we gotta get better. Fandom culture at, like, giving pieces of media like this a chance to actually answer the questions. Because I did see a non-zero number of people being like, well, does she even know that, Kingpin, killed Ben? Maybe wait for the show to answer that question. Like, it hasn't been raised directly. Like, you'd have a point if, like, this scene had taken place in a much earlier episode and she was, like, shocked or something. But no, they were saving the reveal. Like, god fucking damn it, we gotta get better at having a little bit of patience for this kind of thing. But yeah, that was such a great... And the thing, what do you think I'm doing here? Not everything I write is under my own name. If you want, what was it? If you want to put a dent in his armor, here's my card. And he takes it swiftly and with style. And yeah, then she goes back to pretending to be like a party girl with, Daniel. That was also such a great, like, he's like, I'm so stoked. Why can't you just be excited about how much I love that my boss is being this, like, wannabe dictator god? Could you just stroke my ego for 2 seconds and not worry about, who murdered who? Like, fuck me. It's possible that he doesn't know that Ben was murdered by Kingpin. But everybody in universe at this point is aware that Fisk used to be Kingpin and had people killed, so just, but yeah, he's just, yeah, stoked. That was also, let's see, I just want to make sure, I think that was everything that I wanted to say about BB. So, Fisk. A lot of great Trisk stuff that, fighting the press, in a somewhat more brutal way than Trump has so far, but I mean, he doesn't seem to mind all the Palestinian journalists and journalists in general that have been killed by the IDF. He hasn't called out Netanyahu for that. So, I mean, there is that thing about if you let someone else do something bad and you don't try to use your power and influence to stop it, you're just as guilty. Let's see. But yeah, also, all that for a picture. Like, literally. Yeah, and him talking to Jack. Really do appreciate, we've been wondering, those of us who knew, because, yeah, the thing about what they say about swordsmen, that has some equivalent in the comic. Let's go with that. And yeah, he does such a great job. I forget if I said about the other episode, but the Jack Duquesne, let's see, was the Tony Dalton, yeah. The actor does a fantastic job, and the writing also helps, but shifting from the lighter, like, if you haven't in a while, rewatch one of his scenes in, the Hawkeye miniseries, you can pick pretty much any scene that he's in. He's so much lighter there. Like, he's constantly getting sayings wrong, This is an unexpected surprise, and then here he's so much more tense. I love when he gets up and looks Fisk right in the eye, and the little thing there, and yeah, he's like, I'm gonna sick my dogs on you. I'm gonna use my gang against you in order to get what I want politically. Extremely trisky. What a trisky dick he is. And yeah, one after another, the rich and powerful are called in there, and Trisk demands favors. And it's one of those things where, like, it takes a lot to get me to empathize with a rich person who isn't, like, going above and beyond to make the world a better place because they have the money and the power to actually accomplish it. So I wouldn't exactly say that I was like, oh, that was, but it's a nice, tense bit of, yeah, it's, obviously in real life they do have tremendous power, so it's not quite a one-to-one. Let's see, and it doesn't need to be. I'm not saying that it does. I'm just acknowledging that in real life it's almost like the other way around. The rich are getting some of what they want from Trump to the detriment of literally everybody else, the 99%. I think that might just about cover Fisk. Right, the bit with, what did you expect, devil? And the bit where he's, like, pushing away the guard, and we think, oh, there's going to be a direct confrontation between him and Matt, and then, the light comes on, they start dancing. Fantastic use of music throughout this episode. They've done such a good job here. It's one of the best of the Disney Plus, MCU and adjacent shows so far. Yeah. Let's see. I think that, yeah, obviously with Fisk, there's also the stuff where it intersects with Vanessa, so let's briefly, I do want to briefly address, I think I might have misinterpreted the ending of the episode before this one. I took it as, Vanessa sent Luca there so that Fisk could have him killed. I think it is possible that she thought he would kill Fisk, and then she would have all the power. And the thing that, right after he says, contact Vanessa, and, basically saying, I took it at the time as him saying, tell her good job. I'm glad we settled Luca. Now I think it might be that he wanted to communicate, you missed, which, if you come for the king, best you not. And then in this episode there is, there are several things going on with the Adam Baldwin, just plain Adam scene. And one of those things is a loyalty test, and she passes with flying colors. I love that we didn't see that it was a gun. We just see, she's picking something up, and, like, we can deduce it, but still, it's really powerful that we don't see the gun until right before it's actually fired, I guess that's why on the first date back in the Netflix show, she brought a gun, and then she, like, gave it to him. I guess it was in case there were any Adams there. Was she disappointed that she didn't get to shoot Adam's apple before this episode? Anyway, but yeah, and it is this thing about he's coming clean. It's like, I said I didn't kill him. Which, like, yeah, technically correct, the very best kind of correct, but, like, you didn't stop that much short of it, you know? But yeah, you know, it's a fresh start, basically. And I do love the thing, you know, we're not gonna need to be your patients anymore, which I also, I'm like thinking, oh fuck, is he gonna have her killed now, because like he doesn't tend to leave loose ends and he's uncomfortable with people knowing a lot about him. Yeah, but yeah, you know, we buried the sins of the past. I took a shot at it, and yeah, everything worked out fine. You know, that was, yeah, very, very on the nose choice of words there. Right, and also you know, yeah, Matt deduces it, and he's like, I know you killed Foggy. And she tries to get away, and he holds her close, and she tries to make, like, or I guess does fairly successfully make a verbal comeback, and the little smiles she had, like, she's such a talented actress. There's so many talented actors on this show. I think that does, so let's see. Definitely some stuff with Matt. I think he might be the last major character. So before I talk Matt, I do briefly want to say, so yeah, the genuinely really intense with the when the reporter is, you know, I know my rights. I do too, and I'm thinking, like, I don't think those are your rights. They're Miranda's, but yeah, I don't know. He's being kind of a Samantha right then. And the thing with, you know, that's you know, I'll charge you with assault. This isn't assault. This is assault. Holy crap! Just, yeah. I'm really, really glad that I know for a fact there's no way they actually stuck someone's hand in there. You know, they have, like, let's see. Do they still use? Oh fuck! I actually, thinking about it, I don't actually know what that's called in English. Anyway, but they have, like, a substance that makes smoke completely harmless, and it doesn't hurt to be near, you know, just, yeah. And they can make it look like it's like boiling without it being boiling hot. Because all we actually see are, like, bubbles in the surface. That can also be accomplished. I forget the exact, yeah, but there's a substance you can put in that makes bubbles, so yeah. But that is also, yeah, like, you know, it's supposedly, like, boiling, like, I want to say grease. Yeah, you don't want that anywhere near your skin. That's intensely hot. I think that, right, yeah, so I do briefly want to say, yeah, I forget if I mentioned it before, but obviously the idea that the police chief is like, oh, you can't do this. This is corruption in the police force. You know, just, yeah, if only. Like, that's not America. Where yeah, in reality, he's 100% behind it and protects the cops that are caught and acts like, oh, this man has a family. Well, okay, he does have a family, but he should have thought of that before he started brutalizing innocent people. Yeah, I think that right, and that was a good exchange. The thing, you know, when did you become his, you know, Goebbels? I want to say was the, you know, to properly name drop, and, you know, I don't know, when did you become? Fuck, I don't remember, the head of the SS. I forget the name of the, yeah. My dad's a big World War II buff, especially when it comes to Nazi Germany. He's spent most of his life trying to figure out exactly what happened so we could prevent it from happening again. And now Trump is doing what he can to make it happen again. That brings us to Matt. So yeah, really appreciate the way that we're seeing, you know, he's very much being pushed to his limit. Like, it earlier, he would not have, well, maybe always in this show, but not on the Netflix show, just, like, assault of, you know, potential client, just like that, you know, yeah. And he doesn't use his cane as he leaves Josie's. And, you know, I understand, obviously the question has to be asked and answered, Your Honor. Where are the pussycats? Please, they are not of drinking age. But yeah, you know, he's struggling to hide his alter ego. It's scraping at the door. And yeah, let's see, yeah, with Heather, you know, the thing with, you know, I can't go anywhere by myself, I'm a guest. That's why they call it a guest. But yeah, and yeah, you know, Madison called a meeting, and at first I was like, Madison, I thought, isn't Kirsten the boss? And, you know, no, Madison the client, and he's clearly guilty, you know. And Matt is like, I love this. Could you say that again? Is he serious? Yes, I'm serious. Because the guy, like, oh God, he's just... If you wrote the words guilty across his forehead, he wouldn't look more guilty than he already does. You know, and, you know, yeah, Matt points out, I can't do it. I can't ask the question if I know the answer's a lie. And yeah, I think that does bring us to, yeah, love when he's, like, walking up to the door, and, you know, entering the party, and we just know this is not gonna go well. And he's like, making a beeline, and then Heather stops. I am slightly worried. I don't think that it's coming across that way, but I can imagine some people might think, oh, Heather is, like, they're doing that obnoxious trope of, like, the really misogynistic propaganda thing of a woman being irrational and just not thinking about the man that you know, she doesn't know that he's Daredevil. She was almost killed. Like, she came extremely close to death. Then she killed a guy, which I also appreciate they acknowledge, you know, that is upsetting to her, obviously, you know. More media like this should acknowledge that. There's way too much of it where it's just, like, you know, they kill a bunch of people and high five. Which started way back with Iron Man. Do not high five Iron Man unless you are, like, super strong or yourself in a metal suit. It's gonna be like when John Connor got a... yeah. I think that might just about cover the entire episode. Yeah, really loved it so much. Yeah, I'm partway through watching Jessie Gender's video. She points out that, you know, some of what happened in this episode should maybe have happened in early, you know, it's perhaps a little stuffed, bordering on overstuffed. Yeah. Let's see, I think, right, to be clear, not all of those words were hers. I added to, but please watch her video on your own. You know, in general, she's excellent. And if you have Nebula, watch Identities. It's absolutely amazing. If you don't have Nebula, that's a really good reason to get it, or at least do, like, a free trial and watch it, because holy crap, yeah. I think that does cover everything. I am buying time, trying to fill dead air while I go over the episode in my head on fast forward. Don't worry, not in real time, to try to see if there is anything at all. I do really appreciate the very realistic thing of, yeah, the task force are jumping at the chance to brutalize people. Like, he's a journalist. Like, my God, it's not like he actually tried shooting Fisk, you know, but yeah. And also this thing of, like, oh, there's no journalists allowed, you know. Yeah, Trump, very tricky. Trump does try to avoid, especially the journalists who are actually going to ask him tough questions instead of just, what's your golfing handicap? Which, like, fuck me, the world's on fire. How about yours? And he went golfing. Like, can we please stop pretending like he has any business being president if that's how he's going to react to something that serious? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Right, this episode marks one of the first F-bombs dropped by a MCU protagonist. It's not quite the first, because both Daredevil, and Wolverine did also say fuck. But then those are anti-heroes to a greater extent than Daredevil. Daredevil is also, at least at times, an anti-hero. But with Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm not sure I've read any version of them that's not an anti-hero. And I have read some Daredevil where he's more like out, just 100% like heroic, like more of a Spider-Man. I think that does just about cover it. Yeah, incredibly dramatic ending. Like, yeah, the fact that Bullseye genuinely did try to kill Fisk. Oh, right, I did briefly, yeah. Also extremely trisky, Daniel becoming, was a deputy mayor of communications, and just like, yeah, Trump all over. And the thing with, Sheila's like, now that you have the job, I'm a little worried that you're going to retaliate. And he's like, I'm not worried anymore. And she and the audience were like, what does that mean? What are you going to do? Like, shit. But yeah, to end with the ending, since I did more or less begin at the beginning, dramatic ending to the episode with Poindexter actually trying to assassinate the mayor, which, like, one can understand why he hates him for trying to get him killed. But honestly, I think more so it's the fact that, and this was news to me, I only just learned this, apparently it was Fisk's idea to do a 4-hour live stream and then just pan the camera across a bunch of names on chairs. Like, yes, I'm excited about those names, but, like, yeah, I think it was FilmSpeak who pointed out, like, a lot of people have, like, jobs, not everybody can just spend 4 hours. Yeah, I believe it was him who pointed out that was pretty tone deaf. So yeah, I'm not saying I approve of Bullseye's actions, but I do appreciate, that is something that was deeply frustrating to a lot of people.